everybody? It's your boy Newbie.
What the frig just happened there? That's some Canadian internet right there for you. Not yahooligans.com. I swear I have Kojiko, people. What's going on? Happy New Comic Book Day Eve. Happy Miss Marvel episode 5, which I think is going to be crazy. Yes, I said it here. I am going to prematurely say that this episode is going to get an 8 out of 10. I swear it. It's not going to come close to Maverick, but it's going to come close. But what's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Special guest alert. This man has been MIA from the Newbieverse, and I haven't been on his show in a while, so we have to change that up because it's summer. So we got, I have to make sure I'm on this guy's channel at least once a season. So nevertheless, we got a special guest, and at the end, we will be talking a little bit about Terrificon because I'm going, and this gentleman that's joining is going to go too. So, guys, first up, let's bring in the co-host. You guys already know him. My West Coast brother, my Western Canadian brother, Mr. Rocksteady. What's going on, man?
What's going on?
Happy Canada Day, belated. Happy 4th of July, belated. But we're here.
Did you put cookies out for Captain America?
No, I didn't. Oh. I don't believe in that. But I got my 10 fingers. That means, well, one's damaged, but I swear it wasn't firework related.
9.8.
That's good. Yeah, 9.8. But yeah, let's get it started, man. I'm pumped. It's always a blast talking with our special guest. Guys, Robert Downey Jr. No, I'm just kidding. It's Otto. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Close, man. Close. If you would have said Tom Cruise, it would have been somewhere around there, So what's up, everybody? Hey, dude, this is like the Newbieverse of madness, man. I've morphed into this, and I'm excited to be here with you guys, man.
Yeah, dude. It's been a while. I think I looked. I think it's been since April that we haven't done anything.
Probably, so. for sure.
Busy, but yeah, you're on holidays now. It's summer, so yeah, let's kick it off, man. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking about Terrificon because yours truly and Mr. Otto, 1/3 of the 3 Men in the Basement, will be photobombing a lot of people's pictures and probably drinking. So yeah. But yeah, it's gonna be a good time. All right, let's say hello to the chat real quickly, and then let's roll, guys. Top 10 hottest list. Michael Baker. He's saying bronze. I'm seeing gold. Comic Kingpins are in the house with the silver medal. What's going on, boys? Chad is in the house. He's taking home the bronze. Looks like no Canadians taking a medal. Rush, what's going on, man? How you doing, brother? Philly Born's in the house. Top 10. What's going on? Newbie panel and chat. Love Philly Born. Great guy. Hernani, what's going on, man? How you doing? Another fellow Canadian, Mr. Sam Rock. What is going on? Cars in the house. Mr. Peter. What's up, everybody? Newbie. Sorry I didn't end up making it to the Toronto show. Happy belated. I appreciate that. I'm telling you right now, Peter, you did not miss a thing because there was no good deals to be made. Mr. RP's in the house. Mr. Vancouver.
What up?
What's going on, Chris? How you doing, man?
We're going to be hanging on Saturday.
Rush Otto from the Grotto. I always feel like I'm like a radio host DJ or something. So,
yeah, let's do it.
And look at that. 3 Men in the Basement are in the house. So what's going on? North 49. And Otto, I will give you, most people in here should know who you guys are, but I'm going to give you guys a minute to talk about what you guys do. Because definitely if you're not familiar with the 3 Men in the Basement, I want you guys to get familiar because they put on a great show, great content. And they do it all over Facebook, Instagram, whatnot, shows. They do the crawls. They do everything. So Make sure. Matrix is in the house. What's going on? Mr. Comic You Crazy and Mr. Black Crown. What's going on, dude?
BC.
Love that.
BC. All right, gentlemen. Hottest comics of the month of June. So these comics, I love doing this show simply because we kind of get to go back and like a famous person once said, the same person who slapped Mr. Chris Rock said, you can't go forward unless you know where you've been. So we have to go back and take a look. And it's always nice to revisit because there's a lot of books that kind of hurt us, right? We see a book and we're like, oh man, I went deep into this one, or oh, I didn't order enough. And we get the FOMO or the JOMO, and it's always fun to talk about the ones that we missed or the ones that we got. So nevertheless, we're going to be getting into it. Top 10 books. Are you gentlemen ready?
Let's go.
Hey, newbie, I still... I like how he says I still have. Like,
Yeah, really.
You weren't supposed to open the packages before you got there.
Oh, man. All right. AOAs, and those Otto has a Captain America comic in the background and no Iron Man. Sweet. AOA, love him, but yeah. Too much Captain America. Too much Captain America. All right, gents. Hottest comics of 2020. Let's get it started. First book up. I dare to say maybe the next Something is Killing the Children, like everybody else is thinking, but Grimm 1. Yes, Grimm 1. Only it's the second print. Now, this one is probably going to be the most sought after one, I think, because everybody who didn't get on 2 was going to go on 3, and whoever didn't get on 3 is obviously going to go to 4. I think this one's going to be the big one to get after having, cover A in the first print, but nevertheless, it was allocated as well. I don't know about you guys. I hate when a book is about to come and they're like, oh, it got allocated. And then people are like, oh, I can sell it for $100. It didn't reach crazy numbers after the week of release, but it did reach $100, which is insane. Otto, you're the guest. What do you think of the book?
Good book. I passed on it. You know what I mean? I appreciate it. It's an indie book. It's not really in my wheelhouse. Lately it's been classic Silver Age, Bronze Age stuff for me, reading it, opening them up. But I dig it. If you got it, get after it, keep it for your PC, flip it, whatever you want to do, man. But I'm definitely digging it. And maybe I'm going to have FOMO on this one, but it's just not in my wheelhouse. So it was one of those things.
Otto, I want to, because I know where Rocksteady's going to go with this, and I've asked a few people, but do you in your mind think that maybe we should stop comparing things? Because like everybody was trying to get the next, Walking Dead, and then Something's Killing the Children came out. And now everybody's like, oh, it's got to, this is the next Something's Killing the Children, but it'll probably be something like way left field that gets us. Like, do you think if you had to take a guess, or a gambling man, would you?
I'm a gambling man, so you know what? It's better to be lucky than good here. So I mean, you can buy 10 books, and let's say you buy 10 books, it's that 11th book that's going to get picked up, right? Yeah. So you can't buy everything. You're not gonna. If you find an AF-15, good luck. If I find one of these books to be an AF-15, I'll be dead by the time it's worth anything. You know what I mean? Of significance, as I say this. You know what I mean? If you buy a book for $5-10, you flip it for 100, you made 10, you made your money, right? It's a good day, right? It's a good return. For me,
a really good day.
I wouldn't go after it. If this would be something I'd go after it for the read. This is a really sick cover, man. I really think this is a dope cover. And again, I used to cover chase, not so much anymore, but again, if you think 10 books are going to be popular, it's that 11th book that's probably going to end up being there.
Always.
So, always, right? So, and I can even say that as I'm looking at that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles behind you, Rocksteady, because this is factually correct. If I can say this, I will. And this is on my children. 1981, 82, I'm that 10, 11-year-old kid at an LCS that we used to go to called The Bookie. You wonder why I like to gamble. The first the first LCS I went to was called The Bookie. And, I was collecting X-Men at the time. And there was this book. It was black and white. It was stupid. It was turtles that are ninjas that are mutants.
Oh, my God.
As I have a stack of them and I look at my brother, I go, Brett, look at this guy. He ordered all these. Look at these things.
Damn. Man.
My 51-year-old self hates my 11-year-old self. And my brother will tell you the same thing, who was 2 years older than me, because we're like, it is. So I have gone through FOMO for over 40 years, starting with Turtles. So I know what it's like. I just can't do it anymore. I've beaten myself up 100 times over.
Otto, I've had a stack of Ultimate Fallout 4 like this in my hands when they first came out, even later. And I was like, nah, it's okay. I'm good. Nah, I'm good.
It's not going to catch on.
Yeah, I'm good. Right. So, yeah. Rocksteady, where are you at with Grimm #1? I know you're more into the indies and the second prints and the later printing. So I think this one's more up your alley too, right?
Yeah. I think people were on Grimm. Like we're in a different day and age for indie than we were 4 years ago. Even 10 years ago for sure, when print counts on these kind of books were 5,000 and under. But now we're looking at, they're ordered just as much as the Marvels, right? So a lot of people ordered Grimm, and when the second print came out, there were still the first prints on the shelves around here.
Yeah.
That makes me think that LCSs weren't ordering as much. A, they weren't ordering as much of the second print, and B, they were allocated. So as far as the series goes, there's always going to be one ghost to chase or two. But yeah, we got to stop comparing to Something is Killing the Children. We got to stop comparing to The Walking Dead. We're just in a different day and age where you sell just as much indie as you do Marvel, right?
Right.
And to build a universe, like, if you notice with indie books, like first appearances, when they happen in like issue 3 or 4, like don't really seem to matter either. It's number 1 or go home, right?
Yeah.
So I do think this will be the book. Where this goes, I don't know. But Boom has the higher quality paper than Marvel does right now, so expect a lot more in that 9.8 that are submitted than in the lower grades. I like the book. If you got any of them for cover, I'm happy for you. They're on 4th print now. I think I FOC'd one, and who knows where it will go from there.
Keep in mind. So I usually do a tracker in my head. Usually it's about a month and a half, 2 months. We will probably be seeing a lot of these come out in CGC and auctions and stuff like that in about a week or two, because it's getting to that point. And I've done this like clockwork, where you go to an auction, you know, Comic Link, My Comic Shop, you know, just all these different outlets, and they're there. There's like 6 or 7 of them, and then they're there constantly week in, week out. So it could be a good opportunity to buy one on the low. So
I think so. Myself and Matt were watching one on eBay of this second print in 9.8, and only went for 135 Canadian at auction.
Pretty good.
And it was one of the first ones to market. Yeah, pretty good for a $5 book. Don't get me wrong, but
right.
It's not going to reach sky highs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not for
Do you think that's
anyways.
the peak at 130? At 130 Canadian? Is that the peak, or
That's what I've seen it sell for. I haven't looked at buy it nows or anything like that.
Interesting.
I think give it time, it'll likely go up, but do expect an influx of the 9.8s, like you said.
Right.
Yeah.
I do want to just add this, and I've said this for quite some time. 130 Canadian, guys, tell me, educate me as from the lower 48s. Like, is
105,
that
110.
Yeah, 105.
Right. So that's perfect, right? So that's, to me, any 9.8 that you can buy for around $100, maybe 110 right now, is well worth it if you're going after that book in a 9.8, right?
Yeah.
So that to me is somebody who maybe 1, didn't want to do the work, 2, missed out on it, or 3, was a guy like me that said, you know what, I'll put in my max bid, and if I get it, I get it, you know. And
there's also the risk sending it in yourself, right?
Of
Not
course,
just doing the
course.
work, but what if it comes back a 9.6? Then it's
Sure.
a $60 book probably.
Yeah,
absolutely. So whoever bought that, I mean, that's a reason why I would, because you're getting the 9.8, you know. Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, we've all been on Whatnot. I know 3 Men in the Basement did it. Rocksteady, you've been doing the shows. I am probably going to do a show this weekend, gearing up for Terrificon. But there is a thing that Whatnot keeps doing, and one of the books actually was something that got a little bit of heat. Most of them do, but this one really stood out. But it is the Good Boy Whatnot exclusive. This thing just went crazy. Dollar amounts is insane, because some of them went for like 80 early on. Some of them went to like 140, 150, 200. It just went crazy. A lot of these exclusives on Whatnot are gaining a lot of popularity. Mind you, it seems like it's more or less the week of the con or whatever con they're at, and then they kind of slow down. So we'll probably see a lot of those with like the FOMO, JOMO kind of thing. But I'm okay not picking this up or paying $250, $300 US. But what are your thoughts, Otto? Have you dabbed into those like exclusives for Whatnot or no?
No, not at all. I mean, I would only buy the exclusives if I was at the show. You know, to me, this is a cool cover. I mean, it's not in my wheelhouse, like I said. You know what I mean? Like, if they're like, let's say if Whatnot was at Terrificon and it was a Terrificon exclusive, and I was there, I would get it. You know, don't get me wrong. I'd see if I get a few more and hold on to, or, you know, do what some people have done, like put it right on eBay when you first get it, which is fine. You do what you want with your money.
Yeah.
And if somebody buys it, somebody buys it. But I'm not, you know, going after something like this. It's just not really my style again, you know. But if it is my style if I'm there in person. You know what I mean? Like, it's like Stan Lee. If I can touch it in my hands, right? It's like digital comics, you know. I want to hold the paper, hold the other things, like Stan Lee would say, you know.
So you don't want NFTs? You don't want to?
No, listen, I missed the boat on that one too. I don't. I mean, I don't. So nope. Yeah, that's it.
Rocksteady, where are you? Do you dab into them? Because I know that Whatnot did a lot of the Invincible ones as well, and you're a big Invincible fan, so I'm just wondering, even if it's not this one, have you dabbed into the Whatnot exclusives kind of rabbit hole?
So Whatnot exclusives are just glorified store exclusives. Do you know what I mean? I don't really see a difference there. I think, and like I've talked about where I stand on store exclusives, get it if you like the cover, but don't get it if you think it's an investment.
Yeah,
correct. I agree with you on that, Rocksteady.
I'm kind of on the same wavelength. However, now Whatnot has a publishing company, which they announced, Whatnot Publishing. So I'm wondering if this means there will be no more Whatnot exclusives with other publishers now that they're a competitor, right? So I'm wondering if these early Whatnot exclusives, because I think they're coming to an end, are going to be worth a little bit more than store exclusives. It'll be interesting. I didn't get any of the Invincible ones. Those things just went bonkers. Like, I can't justify paying something like that for a store exclusive. I like all the metal stuff they're doing, and that's really great. But those things, like $1,000, like you think about what would you rather?
Oh my God,
that's a pretty big book.
Forget it. Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So good boy, a lot of hype around it. Whatnot, probably lower printed than a lot of the other ones, but to me, glorified store exclusive.
Right. And like the Tyler Kirkham did most of those Invincible ones, right? Like, and like, so let's say I'm at, or even if I knew somebody that was going to a show and was going to wait in line, I love Tyler Kirkham's art. I always have. I've been following him for years. I thought Invincible was great. That would be something I would, throw feeders out to and say, hey, can you get me one? Hey, can you get me one?
Yeah.
But no way in hell would I spend $1,000 for it.
No.
So
you when you start playing that what if game, like I come up with like 10 books just like this,
right,
like,
with numbers that have commas in them. Let's talk about that. You know what I mean? Like, it's
exactly. So all right, gents, let's move on to book number 3 for the month of June. And I don't know if you guys were into it. I didn't really speak English at the time that this show was going on, but they have a movie or a show coming out. So there was a little, rejuvenation, if you will, the second week of June. But it is none other than Beavis and Butthead #1. A lot of people, there was a controversy on the first appearance, I guess. There was a few Facebook groups and Instagram groups that were trying to say, no, it's this, it's that, it's this. I think there's a second print or something like that
with a purple glove.
Yeah, I was gonna say the glove is different. Movie's supposed to come out this summer, supposedly, but 9/8 are fairly, they're $200. That's not a lot, especially if there is going to be some noise. I mean, I wouldn't put it up there as like nostalgia for me, like, oh my God, I need to have this book. But like, I mean, I was born and I was living in the time when this show was like popular, right? Like we all know that one stoner guy that we went to high school with that's like still around in our communities, and you're like, hey, and he just like still has a Beavis and Butthead shirt or something,
sure.
Like
still laugh like that.
Yeah, exactly, right. So
finds the same stuff funny.
Yeah, I'm expecting when the movie comes out for it to kind of get some hype, but $200 for a 9/8, not the worst investment. Again, it was one of those, pop culture things, but Otto, it looked like you were looking for one. Do you have one?
Yeah, I have one back here, only because this is a niche book. You know what I mean? This is a guy, this is somebody from, I think my demographics, if not younger, maybe 5 to 8 years younger than me, guys that, were, younger when this book came out. Now you're a little bit older. You've got some expendable money. You might want to go after this book in a 9/8 just to have it. Or, you can find this book out in the wild and enjoy it for a raw book. But this is definitely a niche book that I think either you're going to go after it or you don't. I mean, do I find it still funny right now as a 51-year-old man? Sure, it's incredibly funny. It's incredibly stupid, but sometimes you need stupid things to make you laugh, right? So, but again, I think I have one back here. I'm going to take a look at it. Maybe that's something I send into my mad scientist and see what it comes back at just to have it. But again, well, without it being a 9/8, like you pointed out to, it really isn't going to hold any value. It's either 9/8 or raw dog.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So, but just looking at these two guys, Big Reeves Math, the movie was hilarious. There's so many one-liners that you can go back and watch and listen to. But definitely a niche book for a certain demographics of collectors. But again, collect what you want, man. If it makes you laugh, it makes you laugh.
So I'm confused though, because Rocksteady, it seems like so this one's like a pink glove. The second printing is like a purple glove. Is it a second printing or what is it?
It's a second printing.
Okay.
It's worth a lot more. So in this one, there's the newsstand, which you have pictured, and then a direct. and then the second print has a purple glove, and nobody really notices. It doesn't say second printing on it. It's from that era. So that's one you can actually find as a steal, even if you're paying full retail as a Beavis and Butthead, if you can find that one.
Is there anything when you open the book that could tell you otherwise?
Yeah, on the text on that, on the inside cover, it'll say.
Nice.
Yeah, like Otto was saying, super niche. This falls in the same category as Ren and Stimpy, Biker Mice from Mars. You know.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Earthworm Jim.
So it's a nostalgia pull. I don't think it's going to be like an investment that's going to triple, quadruple over time. Like it'll steadily grow as people get more. Like people who had this as a child have disposable income.
Right.
Go ahead, Otto.
No, but I was going to say though, this is the book that the three of us buy. We get it in a 9.8. We're having a house party. We have so I call non-comic book collectors civilians. You know what I mean? Like civilians. They're civilians. You don't know what we're talking about. When we're talking about LCSs and GPA and stuff like that, you're a civilian. You don't know what we're talking about, which is fine, right? But this would be a funny book to bring out at a party to a bunch of civilians and be like, hey, look what I got, you know, and then you have like a funny talking point over it. And then you tell them how much they paid and they're like, get out of here. It's not worth that much, you know, but it has its talking points, but again, still niche, like you said.
This is totally one in a man cave.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Definitely. I was talking to a buddy of mine. So I was with one of my best friends is a doctor, and he's like very serious, and like we've been friends for like 17 years, but it almost took him like 11 years to take me serious, to the fact that like I was going to Comic-Con. He's like, dude, I thought you were just joking about that. I was like, no, like I actually like go, like, because I remember one time we were all having a fire, and he's like, guys, we're all off this weekend. What do you guys want to do? I'm like, I got tickets to Comic-Con, like let's go. And I remember like they always used to like laugh, and then like we would just like not talk about it.
Right.
So he was always like, dude, are you serious? Like you were actually doing that? I was like, yeah, man. Like I love this shit.
Second question is always, do you dress up?
Yeah,
right.
Which is not what I do. But it's funny because he came into because I recently moved into this house, right? And he just came to visit, and he came in my my office and my downstairs, and he's like, what is this? And I was like, well, what you're holding there is Hulk 181. And he's like, oh, what is that? And I was like, oh, it's like a $10,000 book. And he's like, what?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Civilians, they don't
mind
know.
Blown. But you know what's funny is he was like, I can't remember the price tag on it, but he was like, oh, but it says it's 75 cents or whatever. Like, I don't remember what it is. Right. And I was like, no, man, that's started in like 1970, whenever it came out. Right. I was like, just so like mind blown. I was like, dude, like,
oh my God.
Yeah. All right. Shifting gears here. Next book on the top 10 hottest books of June, newbie style. We've got Thunderbolts, Hulk 449. This book and Eternals 1, I literally put at the same thing. And here's why. Because both books were always, it seemed to be around the same time. It seems like everybody had them, whether it's high grade or not. They're just all over the place. Do I believe in this? Let me retract. Do I believe this team is showing up? Yes. Obviously, I'm buying into all the rumors. Am I rushing out to buy this book? No. Here's why. I think that this book turns out to be New Avengers 7. That's literally what I think. You, in my opinion, have to go after the individual characters, not the team. That's just how I feel. That's how I'm always going to feel. The only exception, I think, is Avengers 1. And that one, obviously, for a reason. I would love to have that book. But yeah, me personally, I don't believe in this book. I think that if you really want this book, or you have hair on your chest and you're like, I'm into comics and Thunderbolts are my team, I think this is the worst time to go after your grail, because I think it'll go down in price, just like a lot of things. I don't doubt that they have like great potential, Chris. I just think that this book right now, it's at the height, and we know what to do, right, Chris? We don't buy at the height. We just wait. So I'd rather wait it out. Otto, what are your thoughts? Do you have a copy? Do you have a few copies?
Yeah, I've believed in this book for almost 1.5 years now to 2 years, man. I have been very fortunate. I have 2 9/8s that I bought one in a raw a year ago from Aegis Comics of Alaska, transported all the way down, came back a 9/8. I bought a 9/8 from back almost 2.5 years ago for like $225, I think. From a friend of mine, and I've sold a few of them. I sold I think I've had 4 copies of these. 2 of them I've sold probably 4 to 5 months ago. I got close to $600-700 on them each, which was a lot less than I paid for them. So
did you sell right when that rumor came out and everybody was buying them?
No, you know what? This was a book that I kind of always believed in an ancillary kind of way. Okay. I think this was a group of characters that had a great name, Thunderbolts. You know what I mean? Just the name itself. The characters, you could take or leave it, but the fact that they were Hulk characters, another super group, and they were always saying, what's next? Other people were going after other things. I wanted to go after this. And it's like when you buy that car and then you see it all over the place. I would go places and I would see it, and I would see it at a great price.
Yeah.
And I would find it, and it's, maybe if I'm wrong too, Rocksteady, but this is the kind of the thicker paper covers. You know what I mean? It's not a very thin cover.
Yeah, I think that whole era actually had pretty good paper quality.
Yes, right, exactly.
It was and you can press it still and everything.
Yes, exactly. So I would find this book, and if it didn't have any color breaks on it, I would go after it. And I was paying, again, I'm going to use American money. I was paying $100 to $125 raw for them. And, 2 of them came back 9/8. So, I was very happy with it, and I'm definitely still going to keep my 2 copies. Well, will I still be able to, if I'm at a show and I see one for under $200 and it doesn't have any dings, I would go after it. I believe in this book a lot. I really do, so.
I can't believe I'm going to agree with Newbie on this one. I know, I'm sorry.
10:03 Eastern time. July what? 5th? Nice. All right, finally. Chalk it up.
I don't believe in team first appearances. And the reason why is because teams change. MCU always puts their spin on things. So then there's a secondary one where it's like this version of the Avengers, like Dark Avengers, or you'll have your new Thunderbolts, or whatever it's going to be called, right? And people say, well, what about like X-Men 1? Well, you have a whole lot of first appearances in that, right? Like even the first appearance of the new Avengers or first appearance of Champions, I'm not huge on, simply because teams change and they're not going to be that iteration of them, right? I think Otto is partially right where it was the time to buy, because you are going to see spikes with announcements. You are going to see spikes with trailers. But I think the time to sell is now or at trailer time. As it goes forward, long-term hold, I'm not so sure on it. Like Eternals, like stuff like that. Where Eternals, you don't have all the first appearances with the team, right? I think that really hurts.
When I think of this book, I really I just get these, and I've always told people I think I'm a time traveler. Like I swear, I love Egyptian history and Greek history and history with the Civil War and stuff. I know so much about it, and it's crazy. So I've always told people, I think I'm a time traveler. But anyway, I think my time traveling skills see this book as being New Avengers 7. I really do. I just feel like I get why it's going, and I'm okay not chasing this. I'm not saying that Thunderbolts isn't coming. I believe that it is coming. I believe the rumors. I think it's going to be great. I have a hard time with the teams, right?
X Factor 1, West Coast Avengers, they're not huge books.
Maybe I should go back and say I don't believe you should pay full retail for this in a 9/8.
No,
that's what I ultimately think is if you're at a show and you do have some extra cash and you do see a nice raw copy for right now under 200, I think is a fair market value for this book, right?
Yep.
And if you did then think that, hey, maybe I can get it, press it, grade it, and you have a quick turnaround time, and then that might be the way to go, right? Because if you get it for let's say you're into it for 200, you're into it for 250, possibility of it spiking up to 1,000, you're making 4 times your money, right?
Yeah.
So I am going to keep one of my 9/8 just because I think this is a really cool cover for a time that I wasn't collecting. I mean, it says Thunderbolts on the cover and a great logo. Hulk's, it's a great pose of the Hulk. So just a fun book. But again, don't go buying it in a 9/8. If you find it raw, do what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get it, check it out, but check it. Like I said, Rocksteady said, the paper quality is thicker and it does press. but as long as there's no color breaks. So
and by 1997, like the hype had kind of teetered off by that point. So there aren't don't like consider this a late 80s, early 90s book. Like there's not those kind of numbers of it out there either.
right.
Yeah. All right. Next book on the list, guys, and it is not an 80s book at all. But I don't know about you guys. Well, I know Rocksteady. I don't know Otto. I don't know if Otto's been on the show. I don't know if he likes the show. I don't know if he's into the character, the new generation. I don't know. We're gonna find out. But this one is probably going to be on top 10 list for the next 2 weeks. Why? Because the show's still going on. And those people that are trying to push the books, whether for good or bad, it's going to be everywhere, right? This is not the time to buy this book. I would probably wait 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I went into this show low expectations. I was kind of, pissed off that everybody was throwing rocks at me because I didn't like Moon Knight. And I find myself really liking this show. A lot of Easter eggs, a lot of things that connect to like different places and different teams and different characters. I think anyway, I'm really digging it. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I see myself in the future having this book. Otto, what are your thoughts? I'm really interested to hear your thoughts. Just as, more experienced collector, older guy, different era, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, not much. I didn't buy this at all. I didn't buy it. I just saw so many people getting into it. I have nothing against the character. The show, I haven't watched the show yet. I'm kind of behind. I like to savor things a little bit and kind of play it. Just give you an idea. I just finished the finale of Obi-Wan.
Me too.
So I just finished that. I haven't started Kamala. I haven't started Miss Marvel. I'm definitely gonna. A YouTube channel that I love. Good Canadian guy, John Campia. He has a great YouTube channel, and him and his team, they love this. And I'm kind of on the same page with them. I just have to be able to sit down, watch it, keep an open mind. But comic book wise, I didn't buy it. I'm not going after it. It's not really a character that I would even say, unless the show changes my mind. I will say this. Unless the show changes my mind about certain characters, then I'll try to get it when it dips a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for an example, like growing up as a Silver Age collector, and a Bronze Age collector, like Red Guardian to me wasn't a big character in the Avengers, right? I saw like thousands of copies of that books. It shows on the walls, $75, $80. It went up, blah, blah, blah. But after I saw Red Guardian and Black Widow, I was like, this is a really cool character, right? So, the book's on the low now, so I would go after that. This character, unless the show changes my mind, I won't even go after it. If you have it, and you're making money on it, enjoy it. If you're watching the show and you love it, keep loving it. You do you, man. Live your life. That's really what it's all about. But again, I don't have it. I don't have FOMO over it. And I'm definitely not poo-pooing it. So I'm just about as indifferent to this as you could be.
Rocksteady, I know you just did a Whatnot sale about, I think 2 weeks ago with all the Miss Marvel stuff, and you had some keys in there. What are your thoughts? I know you don't own this book, but what are your thoughts?
I'd love to own this book. That's for sure. I think, it's prone to that color rub because of that Marvel Now stripe at the bottom.
Yep.
It was a lower ordered time for comic books, and I think she is going to be a big character for years and years to come. They're clearly switching the generations, and I don't think you can switch the generations without having Miss Marvel. So people are going to grow up with this book. My concerns with it are that after the show, it's not going to go down. So I could see this being a banger. The last couple episodes of Miss Marvel could be huge, and because $600 to $700 Canadian for a 9.8 isn't a lot. So where do you expect it to go, if that makes sense? And like Otto said, he wasn't buying it. Not a lot of people were buying it. Not a lot of people were into Kamala Khan for the longest time. So if we're moving into a world with Miles, and
Nova,
stuff Sam Nova, same kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a horrible buy-in, even at market value. I don't expect, if it does dip, I don't expect the dip to be prolonged. I expect them to announce season 2 or a Champions or something along those lines. And I think she's here for the long term.
See, that's interesting that you said season 2. I just have to say this properly. If they announce a season 2 and I can get a raw copy for, $400 or $500, I would definitely do that, because with season 2, don't you think it would bring it up to 800 to 1,000?
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Could this, if they do that, could this book at $1,000 is a question. Again, we're all just opinions.
Otto, I always like having this conversation with, and I'm not, obviously you're older, right? You've been collecting more, and I have this conversation with Dan. I've had this conversation with Chris, a few older. Like, I always believe you always have to talk to the guys before you, and you got to talk to the guys, not below you, but younger than you, right? And because you have to get a sense of it all. But like, I've always just thought it was interesting because everybody's always like, buy silver, buy bronze. Yes, 100%. And I believe in those characters, and those characters hold value and everything like that. But like Rocksteady says, eventually we have to bring in new generation, right? Correct. And eventually these new characters will have to be up there. So who knows if in 10, 15 years, your Miles, your Sam Alexander, your Kamala Khan, right? Like, all these characters are the ones, right? Because we always talk about like, oh, it's a modern book. It's a modern book. Newsflash. We've been in modern for like what? Almost 25
modern ages, right? Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, we're probably going to be in the year 2500 and still be in modern, right?
Correct.
But like, I do think that this is one of those that maybe 15 years down the road, you're like, oh shit, we should have probably got it because it is like a prominent character, right? And I always try to do what Mr. Mel V says, and Justin. There's a few people that have said, like, they talk to, whether it be their nephews or like, I talk to my nephews and I'm like, hey, who's your Spider-Man? They say Miles.
Right, exactly.
Right? Like, they don't know who Peter Parker is.
Yep.
Right. So that's what I try to look at it. Like BC, same thing. Like, his kids are watching the younger generation. Like, his one son has an obsession with, Spider-Gwen, and he's got that book and he thinks he's going to hold on to it just to pass it down. Right. Like, these are the characters that we might see. So that's another thing that goes through my mind when I see a book like this and people are like, well, the show, or, oh, it's a teenage girl. It's like, yeah, but like, could you really see yourself, when Spider-Man came out, it was like, yeah, he's a teenager who's like poor and like, taking pictures and, like, it's the same thing, right? So
highly relatable. I have to tell you, I think that, well, give you an idea. After I saw Into the Spider-Verse and I realized that it was an absolute home run.
Yeah.
Right. And the minute they announced that they signed on to do like second movie and third movie, I went out and bought 2 or 3 copies, literally, of the Spider-Gwens, because during that time I was watching my daughter, who was a few years younger. She was completely into that character, right? And then what I like to do is when you go to these shows and you look, and to your point, to see what the younger kids are dressed up as, right? What characters they're dressed up as. The anime stuff, I don't get. The Yu-Gi-Oh stuff.
Oh my God.
That's out of my wheelhouse, right?
The sword? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't get it. But to your point, though, it's going to be interesting to see at Terrificon, which is heavily, there's tons of, because there's thousands of people there. If I see 3 or 4 Miss Marvels or Kamala Khan characters, that this is a hit, because that means that if there's 4 kids here, then there's 4 kids over there, then there's 4 kids over there, and then there's 4. So you know what I mean? So that's a good way to gauge certain characters. But again, this, it really all depends. I've got to watch the second season, or I've got to watch this first season, see if it signs for a second season. But I can't say I won't own this book, because it's might be the book that you have to own, and I'll watch it with my daughter. So
I will say, and some people might think of me like crazy, and I get it. Everybody has different financial, situations. We all have different goal, jobs and everything like that. And I know the price of the book now, but Spider-Gwen is undervalued.
Of course.
I said it. I ripped the Band-Aid off. It is very undervalued. And I think that people get scared when they see 4 numbers. But like, again, that's a book that I think, down the road, it's just going to explode, because you can't have Miles without her.
I can't believe Miles and Spider-Gwen aren't side by side.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though, right? Like, you can't have Miles without her. Like, it's just the 1 and 2. So if you are in that corner being like, Miles, you have to think she's there, right? Like, that is the female. Like, he always needs a female. It's the female, the love interest. It's she's a suit. She's a spider. It all makes sense. Super undervalued book. So
one last thing, like, I agree with everything you say about people growing into the next generation. And I think it's evident because you see people growing out of generations too. There was a time when Disney and war comics were worth more than superhero comics. And those people who collect those are coming fewer and far between, because they're either retiring, they don't have time for it, and they're selling off their collections. So these are going to come available. So I think you have to look generations move on. Like look at postage stamps, right? No, the prices of those have gone way down. Nobody really collects postage stamps. So I think you have to move with the market if you're an investor. So not everything old is going to be worth money. Not everything in the future is, but choose wisely.
Yep, it's true. Get your NFTs, baby. All right, this one, man, where do I start? I don't even know like what happened, but we have again another dollar book, forever a dollar book, forever a book that people just passed. You know I've passed it. I'm like, yeah, fuck. I mean, it's a cool cover, don't get me wrong, but never did we think Spot. But then the news broke, even though we already knew that Spot was like, there was already rumors and people being like, yeah, Spot's going to be the villain, right? But the John Cena effect, unless it's in our face, we don't believe it. It's not there, right? That's what I always say. But then when it is in front of us, everybody just goes nuts and crazy. So Spot will be the villain for Miles and Spider-Verse 2. This book, I relate this book to probably the Arthur Harrow book, right? I don't think that Spot has a longevity like Arthur Harrow, but at the same time, like both $2 books, and then they jump to a $100 book, $120 book. So it is what it is. 9.8, 600 plus Canadian for this book. I would not buy that. I would not touch that. If you believe in this book, by all means. I just don't know what you are expecting as a ceiling for this book, but I'm staying away from this book. I'm not falling for it. Otto, what are your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, this is a hard pass. I don't know if I think it's very different when you look at characters from villains to mainstream characters or your heroes. Spider-Gwen, Miles, they're not going anywhere. The Prowler, first movie, you saw him, he was done. That was it, right?
Well, we don't know. We don't know.
Well, I should say as far as value of the book, right? It came out, people bought it, it dipped a little bit, you know what I mean? So is Spot the same character? Is like, is it going to run parallel with Prowler on this? It's definitely not going to be somewhere where excuse me, it goes up to the hero standpoint or the good guy book. But I was reading, I want to say this, Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man is a great Spider-Man run. I was buying these off the rack as a kid. When I first saw this character, I wasn't too impressed by it. There are so many other better story arcs in the Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man that you can buy. So just, I don't know. If you have it, grade it. If you can find it, get it. I just don't think it's going to have the longevity.
Yeah, like if you are buying it now, you were in a coma because we knew Spot was going to be the villain for over a year, I believe.
Correct. You're correct.
So I get it if like you're chasing the Canadian price variant. I think there's even an Australian price variant of this one. But like, come on, like you were saying, the Prowler. Well, at least the Prowler like has history and is like an awesome first appearance. I'd compare this more to like first female Doc Ock. Like,
yeah. Right.
Like she was there and she was gone. And like this is the crappiest cover of those 3 Spot covers as well. I also don't think Spot is something you could do in live action, so there's not taking it away from it. And yeah, just be careful with your money, folks.
I think the people that think that they can't do, if you know anything about Miles, you know that the relationship with his uncle is like very close, and he shows up a few times.
Yeah,
so
I think Prowler's gonna stay.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm holding on to that ASM 234 book, because I think he's going to show up at some point again, and it's just going to be better. Chris is saying, first Frogman better be next newbie. That was like last month,
Wonder
man.
Spot.
Listen, don't get me started on Wonder Man.
There you go.
Hey, I didn't even know.
Okay. I try to do the best I could because for people who don't really know me or how my brain works, especially when it goes to comics, I like to connect the dots and like I go back a lot, and I always find more hidden stuff. Like when no one's looking, that's where I'm looking, right? If tomorrow they said, hey, what's the next comic I have in front of me? Okay, the comic I have in front of me doesn't make sense because it's Wonder Man, right? But if tomorrow, even though it's already out, they said Wonder Man, go get your Wonder Man. It's rumored he's got a movie. Okay, that's when I go, okay, next, because it's done. The time is up, right? It's interesting because we got Hawkeye and Kate Bishop. We got the Black Widow movie, and now we have rumors of this one. And when you add all of it together, you add in, you had Red Guardian, like Otto said. I can't remember offhand what first appearance it is, but it's an Avengers book, first appearance. It was always there. Everybody knew what it was. He's on the cover. The name is
like
there.
This. It's actually very similar to this.
Exactly, right?
Right.
Hear me out on this. He pops up, and then that book explodes. But then what everybody says, YouTubers or Instagram, is like, well, I mean, it's an early Avengers book, so yeah, it makes sense, right? But for the longest time before that, not really popular. Hawkeye comes out. Avengers 19. Swordmaster. Oh, yeah. Well, it's an early Avengers book, so it makes sense. You know, we kind of have to give it its props. And it took a nosedive. Now we have Avengers 9, right? Wonder Man. And again, another Avengers book, and a lot of people being like, well, it's early Avengers. It's, inside the top 10. I don't get it. I don't get Wonder Man at all. Rocksteady, you know this. I am just shocked at this book. And the hype it's getting, even this one, like just anything Wonder Man right now, I'm like, okay, what's going on? But I'm not buying for it. The book has spiked. It's going to continue going north for a little bit. But Otto, what are your thoughts, man? Don't tell me you bought this book off the racks either, please.
No, I didn't. I've seen this book 1,000 times over, but I just look at the classic greatness of this. You've got the Kirby floating heads. You've got Zemo on the bottom with the Enchantress, with the Executioner. I don't know why I didn't buy this book. I should have bought this book years ago, being such an Avengers fan. But again, I've always liked Wonder Man. You know, he's always been a fun character for me to watch growing up as a character. Again, not a character I love. I mean, I shouldn't say it's a cool character, but I'm not going to go chase it right now. You know,
is his suit? Because I don't know anything about it. Is his suit green? Because in this one it's black and red.
Yeah, that's the Hollywood Wonder Man. That's when he went to Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
Like he goes to Hollywood. He becomes the movie star. You know, he had a much more predominant role in West Coast Avengers than he did kind of here. But again, this is 1960-ish, mid 60s for this book. They were just pushing out as many characters as they can. In the 80s, they needed new characters to build the West Coast Avengers and out there. So you got the Hollywood version of it with the red sunglasses and that. So the different iterations.
I was wondering because I was like, what the hell is the difference here? I was
confused. Yeah, no, they had to modern them up. But again, cool book. I'd love to see what they do with it. A 5.0 is right in my wheelhouse for these early Avengers books. I think that would be a great grade to have this book in.
Would you spend $1,100 Canadian on this?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
9.2 is $10K.
Okay, and I definitely wouldn't do that. Again, I don't need it in I don't need it in a 9.2. And I'm like, that's it. But I would, in my collection for my Avengers, I'd like this book to be somewhere around a 5.0. If I had a book and somebody said, hey, I'll trade you this and we work out a deal, I would do it. But I wouldn't dish out cash for this. I'd rather have, another first appearance of a character for this amount of money. But again, I like the character. I like him a lot. I think he was a fun character growing up for me to read. So I'm happy to see and interesting to see how they do with this character because he was a really cool character.
Otto touched on it where he said West Coast Avengers, and I think that's more where the show is going to go. If I'm like a betting person, that it's going to set up something like that. Because I think you can only go so far with Wonder Man. It might be the superhero in Hollywood type deal.
Yes.
As well, which would be a lot of fun. It is. I'm that guy that Newbie was impersonating, where it is Avengers under 10. It does need its due. It is Kirby. I do think there's a right time and a wrong time to buy it. With announcements, it's a wrong time. Give it some time. You'll be able to get it at a deal. And I think if you're just trying to get an Avengers low number Avengers, Zemo is the buy right now. That first appearance of Zemo, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed.
I'd rather have that book than this book long term.
Right. But I would say, though, if I walked into an LCS, a guy had it on the wall, and I asked him how much it was. And if he opened up a price guide, an Overstreet price guide, and gave me a price, sold.
Absolutely.
Then maybe we'd have a deal. But again, a graded 5.0 for $1,000, I'm not buying. But like I said, how much is this book? Well, let me check the price guide. Oh, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys, and we're gonna stick with Miss Marvel here, but we got the Clan Destine's #1. This book kind of heated up. Why? Well, because the villains of the book spiked right after episode 3 of Miss Marvel, a 1990s book. So you get, you could tell this is there. $5 to $8 max prior to the episode, which, sometimes this happens in shows and movies, right? We see a book, we always see it. It's forever, right? Like, I'm still thinking that Turok 1 might one day be a $50 book just because we might overlook it, right?
Foil cover, right? Refractory cover.
Yeah,
Cover,
exactly.
Don't tell that to Brian.
Yeah. Currently, 9.8s are selling for $700 Canadian. First appearance, I think, though, is in Marvel Presents 158. So there is, I think this is the first solo, obviously, not the first appearance. But nevertheless, first appearance, first solo always garners a lot of attention. I would never touch this book at $680. I'm interested, and I can't find it, but I would love to know the price prior to the episode or prior to the show, what it was in a 9.8. I love playing that game, but I wouldn't touch this, anywhere close to $680. Otto, it's a 1990s book.
I've never even seen this book. I don't know nothing about it. This is a complete hard pass for me. I have nothing to offer for you guys in this book. Although I will say, though, if you were buying books at the LCS at the time and it said first issue collector's item, then you might have listened, right? Like they were telling you it's going to be a first.
The mark of death.
Item. Yes, exactly. 30 years later, so I don't know. Pass. I don't know. I'll let Rocksteady talk because I don't know nothing about this.
Yeah, I'm trying to find old listings. Nobody was even buying them before.
That's what I mean.
So there's nothing on there. It's not that they were rare. It's just that nobody cared.
Exactly.
Again, with team appearances, I think 680. Like the fact that one sold for that blows my mind. Like Otto said, I have nothing good to say about this book. I like the shiny gold cover one more so, but anything that says collector's item on it is not a collector's item. It's all the stuff we don't think is going to be collector's items that ends up being worth more.
Before we go to the last book, do you guys think, because this is a clear indication, right? Like this book and the Spot book, just like the last month, I kind of, especially where our economy is, and I'm not just talking about Canada, I'm talking like globally, like where it is, recession, this and that. Because sometimes people are like, oh, we're in a comic recession. It's like, no, look outside your window. It's literally just the world is on fire right now. This, however, shows me that FOMO exists, that some people have way too much money, or some people just throw money around like it's nothing, and they're just like, fuck it. I just wanted a 9.8, right? Because like, who would have ever have guessed this is a $700 book? I could be completely wrong, and 3 months ago, this was $700. I don't think so. I think this is probably like $150 maybe.
I saw one for $225 in May, but I couldn't find one further back than that.
Yeah, see, so that's more reasonable, I guess you could say. But yeah, it's just what it shows me is it's crazy that when these shows come out or these characters, there's always a handful of people that are willing to jump on 9.8s. Doesn't matter what the price is because they just want it because it's.
Do you think it's a panic buy with where the market is and people feel they have to find that book because there's not a lot of hype?
Yeah,
I definitely agree. This is somebody that could be new to the comic book collecting, maybe heard something, maybe saw something and said, oh, I found this, let me get this. And, I definitely think that this could be a panic buy or somebody wanting to get a book in a 9.8 and praying to God that they'll get some kind of return on their investment, or they truly are a clandestine fan, I guess.
Yeah. And let's put it into perspective. This or the 0.1 Kamala Khan book.
Right, exactly.
I would even go 2 copies of, because right now where the price is, I would go 2 copies of Venom 3 first null over this in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
All right, before we get to the last book, I'm not sure if Otto knows the book, but I'm pretty sure he might know why it got hot, and it got hot for the wrong reasons. And I was debating on putting this on, but at the same time, we do talk comics. I'm not. How do I put this? I'm obviously against the book. I didn't buy the book, but I totally understand why people would. It sucks that this book got to where it is. And, I have a lot of friends, African-American, Latino, Asian, white. It doesn't matter. I'm clearly got offended for certain people. But guys, this book, What If, Miles Morales, number 4. It's like a $40 book still. Controversial book, bad stereotypes, right? Like you got Asgard as, a ghetto and their sneakers and graffiti everywhere.
And rapping.
Yeah, and it's rapping and stuff like that. It really took a lot of people by surprise and offended a lot of people, but there is a market for those controversial books. I didn't buy this book. I think one was on the shelf today when I went to pick up my Batman 125. But other than that, like, let's just focus on the comics. Let's not get political. This is not CNN. But it did get a lot of attention, and a lot of people were buying copies and flipping it. Otto, did you hear about this? Did you buy it? Did you fall for it?
Yeah, I did hear about it. Some people that I respect immensely were like, "What the f?" You know what I mean? So it's just when I see guys. There's enough controversy in this world. I don't need to delve deeper into it. Comic books is my escape. Yeah. If people that I respect were offended by it, then I'm going to respect their opinions on it. Am I going to read it at some point and make my own judgment? Sure, I will. But again, I wasn't buying it for the controversial aspect of it. I thought it could be a great topic. I mean, I think Miles, other than the Jordans, looks kind of cool with the. I mean, it's kind of looks cool, but again, I don't know. I don't know. I stayed away from it because it bothered some of my friends, and when things bother my friends, then it bothers me. So, and I'll read it at some point to make my own educated judgment, but I'm in no hurry to get into any type of controversy with something that I find is my escape from the real world, which is comic books and comic book collecting and this. So again, I'm going to pass on this, and if it is what it is, that's it. So.
Yeah, like this panel is probably not the one to comment on it. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I think it is what it is, and the people I trust have a problem with it, and I will never completely understand, so I have to trust them for sure. And I think if you're betting on these controversial issues, like there was that Hulk issue that they said was banned with the slur on the wall and stuff like that, and it crashes. And
or what about really during the pandemic, the coronavirus character?
Yes,
that Lords of the Long Dark. It was just we wouldn't even talk about it on Lords because it was just people were buying it because it was in a comic book and we're in the middle of a pandemic. Like, no way, man. I mean, if you came up to me at a show and you said, I just bought this book, I would have walked away from you. I wouldn't have given you the time of day, man. I don't have time for that, man. We are somebody that's going to tell me that they're buying this and da-da-da. We are not on the same train track. We're not even in the same bar. We're not even at the same, like.
Well, Otto, it's like you said, right? This is our escape. This is our hobby. This is what, at the end of the day, after a long day of work or whatever, this is your escape. This is your happy zone. And I was just shocked. Because
swing and a miss.
Because BC was really big on the series because he's like, oh, how cool, different Miles. But then even he said, he's like, man, did you read it? Like, this is just crazy. And then obviously social media kind of got into it. And, like I said, I got a lot of friends who are Latino, Asian, African American, whatever. Sure. And like, it's like you said, Otto, they were offended. And I was like, wow. So just crazy.
And those are good. And, the people that I'm talking about are happy-go-lucky, good. Again, I feel that in this circle, in this great circle of comic books, I surround myself with many, 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 many positive people, you know what I mean, who are also like-minded like myself. So I couldn't believe how mad they got over it. And so, you know what? I'm not even going to entertain this. I'm not going to buy it. I support them 100%. So that's all.
I hate when they push a narrative, right? Like this, like they don't understand, or like that, the Superman last year, like, when they're trying to push a narrative, it usually misses. Like things need to be a lot more organic than this.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Yep.
Well, gents, before we take off, we have to talk about Terrificon, and it's only fitting that 2 out of the 3 in this panel are going. But Otto, we were talking about Terrificon, and I was, picking your brain about it. You and Justin, because myself, Actual Dracula, Mr. Ozzy are coming.
Can't wait.
But
I can only imagine that car ride down.
Yeah,
that car ride back.
You've been going to this show. It's basically in your backyard.
Yeah.
So you're the expert on this, but I would love for you to take it away, man. And let's talk Terrificon.
Yeah. So Terrificon is, it is by far. So I live in Connecticut. Connecticut, small state. It is my New York Comic-Con, okay? This is my San Diego. This is my New York. It has escalated into something where it is a full-on 4 or 5 day event for us. Leading up to it, we've already had the producer, Mitch Halleck, on once or twice, and we've already talked about it. It's one of these things where Roger and I started going back, and then Terrificon came around, and I was like, wow, as a comic book collector, I can do so much more than just go to a con, dig through long boxes. The fact that it's at a casino, which is a 5-star hotel casino, is another monster in itself. Okay, but the 3 Men in the Basement have taken it so far as to, when we first started going, we were just there walking around, meeting people, hanging out at booths, stuff like that. Last year we got a booth. It was amazing. Why did we get a booth? I don't know. We weren't really selling much. We just got a booth to hang out with everybody, just so everybody can come hang out with us, because that's what it's all about. Because if you're just sitting there, walking around all day, you don't really get everybody to congregate. So Roger and I decided, hey, let's get a booth where at least we can take footage and talk to people. My brother Brett, who's an independent comic book artist, he was right next to us. That was a really cool day. This last year I sold some mystery boxes. Roger sold a short box. This year we said, hey, let's one up our game. Let's get 2 tables. Just so you know, we've already launched on the 3 Men in the Basement channel a little teaser that we actually did a variant for this, and it's an exclusive. It's a 3 Men exclusive for Terrificon only. We did 200 copies, so follow along. Maybe you can guess the cover that my brother did. We did custom T-shirts this year for it. And before we actually got the booths, I'm going to rewind this and tell you that in the infancy of 3 Men in a Basement, Mohegan Sun, the way the hotels are, you come off the elevator and there's a common area where there's 2 couches, a love seat, coffee tables. And I mean, at any point in time, you could see some kids hanging out there. You might see, you show up at 1 o'clock in the morning, you guarantee somebody's passed out on one of those couches. The next morning, like it's just a casino. It's a 24-hour casino that is world renowned. And so I decided to bring all my gear, my laptop, my lights, our banner, and everything like this. And Roger goes, what are you going to do with this? I go, Roger, we're going to set up in the middle of the hotel lobby on our floor, and we're going to go live. My wife hears this and says, no, you can't do that. And I said, who said? And she goes, well, I don't know. You just can't do that. I go, oh, we can. And I'm the person that I won't ask for permission, but I'll ask for forgiveness if I have to. Now, here's what happens. So 4 years ago, we're setting up, and Gary was with us. Justin was with us. And I'm setting up lights. I'm telling you, when I bring all my gear, I bring all my gear. I bring that big lights. I got the Mac. Tom King showed up too. I bring the Mac. I get the microphone. I start moving furniture. And my wife goes, what are you doing? And I looked at her, I go, Andrea, there's more cameras in this place than Fort Knox. The minute I set up lights or I started setting this up, if there wasn't security guards up here within 5 minutes, then I'm good. And there hasn't been. And we've been doing it for years now. And part of the thing is being able to do a live show on our hotel floor every Friday and Saturday night with people who have gone to the show, with people I don't even know that are going to the show. I mean, we had a bridal party come down and sit next to us, and it was the most awkward thing because you get these 5 hot chicks, 6 hot chicks, and we're like, oh, who's your favorite Dinobot? Or like, who's your favorite Transformer?
And they're probably like, shots.
Yes, and we're like, all right. So it's funny, Tom King sat down next to us. I put my foot in my mouth when I asked him who his favorite artist was. We've had guys like, oh my God, one of the biggest individual art dealers, Anthony, from New York City, Jimmy the Greek son. He's a huge dealer, reputable dealer. We've had them there. We have people come on, and we've just turned it into this event. But again, you're going to get this year. It's got an amazing group of artists. John Romita Jr. is going to be there. Bob McLeod is going to be there. Who's a phenomenal guy. You've got to meet Bob McLeod. The guy's so underrated and underappreciated. It's unbelievable when you look at all the stuff that he's done. You're going to have Jerry Conway is going to be there. All these characters, all these phenomenal artists. But then again, you get some of the biggest comic book dealers in the area, in the Northeast, to travel up here. Now, this is not, if you're into the whole weekend experience, this is not a cheap show. So my advice to you or to anybody that's coming to this show is bring your cash, but bring your books that you're not afraid to trade or not let go of. Because a lot of these dealers have great inventory, and when their inventory doesn't move for whatever price, they still want new inventory. So they're willing to trade as long as it's dollar for dollar. I mean, you're not going to trade something and get a $1,000 value. You're not, I mean, everybody knows what these prices are, okay? But bring your books for equity. I do most of my biggest trades, or what I like to do is with some of these dealers, a couple months before the show, I'll find a book that I'm interested in, set up a payment plan with them, and pick it up the weekend of Terrificon, make my final payment then. So it gives me something to work for. And we are going to do a dealer preview show on 3 Men in the Basement. We're going to have 10 or 12 of the dealers come on and actually going to show you the inventory that they're bringing. So please pay attention to that. And just staying in the hotel and just being around these people, like Flash Gordon from the 80s is one of my favorite movies. All right, laugh now. I know you guys.
No, I've watched it. I've watched it.
So here I am, like I'm going down to the pool, which is in the same area as the weight room. I open up the elevator. I'm with my 17-year-old who's 12 at the time, and there's Sam Jones in the elevator after he just worked out. And I'm like, Flash Gordon on an elevator? And he goes, well, how do you think I'm going to get up there? I don't have the rocket ship. You know what I mean? And next thing you know, I'm on the elevator with Flash Gordon, and
that's insane.
Henry Wink, they all stay at the casino. Does it mean you're going to run into them walking in the morning? No. Does it mean you should run right up to them and take a selfie with them? No, but they are there. And we put a lot of time and effort into this wonderful show, and it definitely is one of our highlights. So if you're anywhere in the Northeast or even up in Canada or whatever, don't be afraid to travel to this show. You won't be disappointed for everything. Between Captured Collectibles that are going to be there for your yellow label books, don't wait in line if you don't have to. Joe Giella is one of the oldest inkers of our time, but you're going to be in his line for hours if you want to get a Joe Giella autograph. Okay. Give it to our friends at Captured Collectibles. Let them take that. If you want to get your picture with them, then do it. But if you just want the SIG, hand it off to people that'll take care of your books. At our table, we'll have Spineworks there. They'll be able to take and press your books and enjoy it. And a lot of these people are my friends, and if I say, hey, I'll make the connections for you, like Dan just said, thank you, Dan. They're my friends, and I'll be honest with you, some of these dealers aren't my friends. And when they say, I'm going to go check out that booth, I shouldn't say this. They're not in our videos. These dealers that, and it's not that they've done me wrong. It's just, they rub Roger and I the wrong way, and they're not people that I want to do business with.
Yeah.
Okay. People that hang out at our booth, people that are on our dealer preview show, or people that are my friends and I want to introduce people to, and I want to make the connections. And that's really what it is, man. And Terrificon is a place to be. I'm so excited you're coming down. You were the fourth announcement on the 3 big announcements movie that you were covering. So
I kept bugging. People were like, "What's the announcement? What's the?" I was like, "I don't know. I think they're gonna announce I'm coming. I don't know."
Yeah. You were the fourth one. I think you listed it. So it's gonna be it's a great time. Definitely don't be gun shy with your money. It is expensive. I will be honest with you. But again, if you're you just want to go eat dinner and can't, but if you're a player like me and you got to put $300 aside to play craps with no good comics, and I've already put that money aside,
So I've got some bad news.
Yeah, okay.
That I've got to share with everybody. Mohegan Sun owns the casino that I work at.
Oh.
And I actually went and talked to my boss today, and I said, "Hey, are we allowed to gamble at any property that we're owned by?"
Yeah.
And they said no.
No, I saw that coming.
Yeah, so I don't know how it works.
Okay.
I'll be on the casino hanging out with people, but
sure.
What I was told is I still have to follow the code of conduct. Like if I were to go to my casino right now with friends,
so you gotta have pants on.
Yeah, no, there's rules. If if you're betting and Otto, you were like, hey, give me change. I can't give you change. I can't, if you drop money, I can't pick it up, things like that. So yeah.
Well, that just saves you money, man. That just, saves you money because you can use that stuff for other things. So
but I'm a roulette player. I like to play roulette, so I'm kind of upset.
Right.
I was like, ooh, get to play roulette, and it sucks. So.
That's interesting. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
Express.
We'll have to go to the Reno Con.
What's the Reno Con?
I don't know. I'm sure there's one there.
Oh, I'm sure Las Vegas or something like that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Philly board. Do I KRS Comics and KRS-One? It's so embedded in my head. Dude, I'm a product of the 80s. KRS-One was one of the greatest rappers ever. For my dyslexic brain to get past that, is something that I just haven't got.
Newbie, just give me your money. I'll buy your books.
Yeah, really.
Actually, I got to give a big shout out to Justin because, like I was telling you guys, Justin, I've ordered some books and he was kind enough to let me ship them there and save me some of the money. And we're gonna meet up at Terrificon and he's gonna give it to me. So much appreciated. I got a beer or two in his name. I really can't wait to meet everybody face to face. It sucks sometimes, right? Because you're like, you talk to these people and like through a screen or FaceTime and text every day, and then it's like, fuck, man, like I want them to know that I'm 6'6", like I want them to take a picture with me. Otto, I will say, if you're expecting me to show, if you're expecting a 6'6" newbie,
okay,
you're gonna be disappointed.
No, dude, hey, is this something where like I can have like a certain time slot, come take pictures with newbie at 3 Men in the Basement? Like, I mean, who do I gotta talk? Isn't Ozzy your agent? Do I gotta talk to Ozzy about that?
Talk to Ozzy.
All right, we'll talk to Ozzy. We'll set up a time. Come take selfies with newbie at 3 Men in the Basement, okay?
I'm told I'm gonna try to be by the beach, by the pool as well. I'm trying to enjoy it. So but Otto, I do want to thank you so much for hopping on. I love the fact you came on and talked a little bit of Terrificon, but I want you to keep talking. Why? Because if anybody doesn't know what 3 Men in the Basement are or what Otto does, let them know where they can find you and what you do. YouTube, whatnot, Instagram, all that jazz.
I mean,
let them know.
We're really on all that. Really, the main channel is 3 Men in the Basement on YouTube. This weekend, dropping tonight. Last week, we had Doug Bratton on from Reggie Simmons's page. And as you guys know, they're doing their own book called Isolation.
Yep.
So Roger had him on. I chopped up the video, and I'm going to relaunch it tonight. So if you want to find out about Isolation with Doug Bratton, check it out. This Friday night, Roger will have the artist who did all the work for Isolation on the interior on 3 Men in the Basement. That's going to be fantastic. We are slowly leaking pictures of our 3 Men in the Basement Terrificon exclusive, which we can't wait for. We're selling some t-shirts for that. They're really cool. They're in the Fantastic Four logo.
I love it.
So please check that out, and we'll do that. But our content is there. Follow us, 3 Men in the Basement, on Instagram. We're just having a great time, and leading up to Terrificon, we're from now until Terrificon, you guys, we are going full tilt because this is something that we believe in, and it's our backyard, and as we always say, mi casa su casa. So got me through the pandemic. Hey, I appreciate that, Oa Comics. That was really, and just so you guys know, what do we do on 3 Men in the Basement? We wanted to feel that we're all sitting around the campfire, sitting around the bar top, talking shit. We're not talking about politics. We're not talking about paying mortgages. We're not talking about ex-wives and all those things. We're talking about comics and good times, and just a great way to escape. So you won't find any of that stuff on 3 Men in the Basement. And it's been, it's quite a ride, man, and I appreciate coming on. And I would have never met, honestly, between Rocksteady, just meeting him, reading Joel, everybody in the chat. I would have never met you guys if it wasn't for comics.
Yeah.
So, comics brings people together, man. So I really appreciate that, everybody. Thank you.
It's true.
Otto, what about Whatnot?
Yeah, we are on Whatnot. Very limited. We're at about 450 followers there. We're selling about every week. We've got a big bronze and silver age sale coming up in like 7 or 8 days, but I'll keep you posted on that. We are doing it. And our Facebook page is limited, so please follow us on Whatnot. You'll get some great deals because I'm letting books go for $2 or $3, which blows my mind, but it's okay because it is what it is. Like, I just, then you see like other people that are selling books for huge money, and I get the grind. I understand. Consistency is key. So yeah, man. So you find us there. Follow myself, Everett_Otto on Instagram. Roger Levesque, you know, and Dave in the Cave too, who's making his comeback on our channel. So.
I felt that, Otto, when you're like, it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. That's my self-talk. You guys see that? Yeah, as I'm thinking about, oh my God, that is my self-talk 100%. It's okay. I understand why I'm doing it. I wake up, I go upstairs to my wife. Did you make some money? I go, I made money. Well, how much? Not a lot. But I made money. So that's my self-talk. So there you go.
Oh, man.
I get it.
Well, Rocksteady, you're up. Let the people know where they can find you on YouTube, Instagram, or whatnot. Let them know.
Rocksteady collects on whatnot. Find me there occasionally, here and there. And find me on Instagram at Rocksteady Collectibles.
Nice. And you're actually getting to hang out with Mr. Vancouver Comic Junkie in like a week or two or so. So that's kind of cool.
This weekend, Saturday, I believe.
Oh, shoot.
Chris is coming to town, so that'll be fun.
Little jealous, but
all right, what channel is it? What show is that?
It's not a show. I think we're just gonna be cruising around Edmonton.
Yeah, right on. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Till you meet your heroes. Never meet your heroes.
Yeah, right. Lou Ferrigno. My God. Oh, that was the word.
All right, gang. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Enjoy New Comic Book Day tomorrow. Enjoy Miss Marvel episode 5. Don't ruin it for anybody. And remember, Thor comes out on Thursday. So if you're trying to get a hold of me on Thursday on social media, I'm not looking because I don't want to get spoiled. Do not look. Don't look at me. Don't message me. Don't call me. Nothing. All right. Later.